Hello YouTube. While many see the now extinct Dwemer, or dwarves as some call them, as one big society, nothing's farther from the truth, because we know of the existence of several factions, clans, city-states and alliances that all warred with one another and made peace with one another and traded. Now, one of the most interesting groups of Dwemer by far are the Rourken Dwemer, a clan of Dwemer which trekked all the way across Tamriel from Morrowind to Hammerfell to found the great city of Volenfell in Hammerfell, and subsequently found all of Dwemery civilization in Hammerfell. So, strap in, as today we're talking about the Rourken Dwemer, the Dwemer of the desert. So, the Dwemer, or Deep Elves, by far Tamriel's most technologically advanced race before their mysterious disappearance in the year 700 of the First Era. Their society began in the Merethic era in Morrowind, or Dwemereth as the Dwemer used to call it. All across northern Morrowind they had their underground city colonies, filled with steamworks and other technological marvels not seen anywhere else on Tamriel. Their domain prospered, however they had one very persistent enemy, the Chimer, the golden-skinned elven race which would later become the Dunmer or the Dark Elves. While the Dwemer had their society mostly underground, the Chimer had their society above ground. Unfortunately, this separation was not very peaceful, as the Chimer and Dwemer often fought countless small and big conflicts due to religious disputes and land disputes. However, this would all change after the year 240 of the First Era, when the province of Morrowind was invaded from the west. Armies of the Nords of Skyrim under King Vrag invaded Morrowind and occupied large parts of the province. These Nordic armies would prove to be a common enemy for the two squabbling factions, and due to the goodwill between their two leaders at the time, Dwemer, king of the Dwemer, and Indoril Nerevar, leader of the Chimer, the Dwemer and Chimer formed an alliance against the Nords, the so-called Alliance of the First Council. Suddenly, these two factions were suddenly good chums and ready to kick out the Nords. But not everyone was happy with this arrangement, specifically Clan Rourken, a Dwemer clan of skilled craftsmen who absolutely hated the Chimer, and when their king, Dwemer, officially made peace with the Chimer, the head of the clan, Chieftain Rourken, dismissed the king's authority and declared himself and his clan independent. But instead of staying in Morrowind and facing civil war, Chief Rourken decided to exile himself and his clan, and then, according to legend, he threw his legendary magical warhammer Volendrung up into the sky and then declared that wherever it would land on Tamriel, he and his clan would settle. The legend describes Volendrung hanging in the sky like a comet, showing the Dwemer clan the way across the continent. The legend then describes hundreds of armored Dwemer trekking through Morrowind and Cyrodiil as they followed the hammer's light in the sky. And then finally, in the deserts of modern-day Hammerfell, the hammer fell from the sky and it landed. King Rourken then picked the hammer back up and declared that this would be the place where he would build his new city, and that the city would be called Volenfell, or City of the Hammer. Now, observant viewers will have noted that, hey, this is the place where the hammer fell, and now it's called Hammerfell. That's quite the coincidence, right? Well, that is how the province got its name. To be really accurate to the lore, the place where King Rourken founded his city would be called Volenfell, or City of the Hammer, or City where the Hammer fell. And then later, as they expanded across Hammerfell, or at least modern-day Hammerfell, and the Dwemer founded more colonies, the entire Dwemer realm in Hammerfell would come to be known as Volenfell, and other races, especially after the Dwemer's disappearance, would then start calling the province the Dwemer translation of Hammerfell. Nice. Now, you need to take this whole story of the hammer going across the sky with a little grain of salt though, as some in-universe scholars have speculated that Chief Rourken likely never even threw the hammer into the sky. They say it's far more likely that he just picked it up and carried it, or had it carried, I mean he's a king or chieftain, to the place that he deemed best to found a new city, and then put it down there and was like, this is where the hammer landed, because this is where we carried it, this is gonna be our city. But you have to admit, that story is far less glamorous, so it doesn't go into the histories as well. Now, as I alluded to, the city of Volenfell would not be the only colony that the Rourken clan would found across present-day Hammerfell. They spread across most of the modern-day province, and especially in the desert, as they found it to be rich with natural resources underground. And with the city of Volenfell as its center, the realm grew strong and prosperous, as Chief Rourken became King Rourken, as their city-state now became a proper country across Hammerfell. In Hammerfell, the clan in some ways even outpaced their brethren back in Morrowind. You see, while they never tried to build a gigantic death robot god like their counterparts in Morrowind, their high artisans did develop significant technological advancements under the deserts. They were masters of tonal architecture, and they worked to try and make Dwemer automatons not just automatic, but also tried to make them at least sentient / give them some artificial intelligence in several projects. They also built really advanced facilities, the like of which we see nowhere else on Tamriel, like advanced observatories and a facility far into the Abyssinian Sea for testing weather manipulation magic. More on that in my video on the Graven Deep, which is in the description of this video. Now, other than that, we also know that they imported Aetherium from Skyrim, which is a highly potent material over which the city-states in Skyrim even fought a bloody civil war because it was that powerful. But before that civil war basically torn the Dwemer city-states of Skyrim apart, they seem to have traded some Aetherium with the Rourken Dwemer, as they also used it in some of their greatest works. Now, they also had relatively good relations with the Ayleids of Cyrodiil and Eastern High Rock, as they traded with them too, although it seems that they were highly distrustful of the Ayleids, and the Ayleids were highly distrustful of them, as for example, intermingling in marriage with Dwemer and Ayleids was pretty much forbidden, so it wasn't a super friendly relationship, it seems, at least from the Ayleid side. Now, even though they did have trade relations with others and they seemed to be pretty peaceful, it wasn't all fun and games, as they also had conflicts, for example with goblins, and also they had one of the most legendary conflicts in history, being the War of Rourken-Shalador, which was a conflict between King Rourken and the legendary Archmage Shalador, in which it said that Shalador stood alone against the whole army of Rourken Dwemer. For that occasion, the Dwemer high artisans of the Rourken clan even made the shield Spellbreaker for their king to use in combat, a shield which could protect the user against spells. Now, something interesting here is that two of the most advanced artifacts of the Rourken clan, Volundrung the Hammer and Spellbreaker the Shield, have both been claimed by Daedric princes as Daedric artifacts after the Dwemer's disappearance. Exactly what the relationship of these Daedra to the Dwemer was is unclear, or what their relationship to these artifacts even is, as Malakath claimed Volundrung as an artifact and Periath claimed Spellbreaker. We don't really know what their relationship in this sense is. Perhaps the whole reason the Rourken clan was so skilled at crafting weapons is because they worked with the Daedra, or the Daedra saw some unclaimed immensely powerful artifacts after the Dwemer's disappearance and went like, hey, those seem like cool things to give to my champion followers, so then they claimed them after the Dwemer's disappearance. We don't really know how that works, but I do think that the scenario of the Daedra claiming the artifacts after the fact seems a bit more likely to me, because the Rourken Dwemer left other powerful artifacts as well, which weren't as high profile but undoubtedly powerful, such as some really powerful Aetherium weapons, and the Guardian Eye, which is a really mysterious artifact of immense power apparently, that we don't really know what it does, but a lot of people want it. But those artifacts were not claimed by Daedric princes, and at least of equal magical and crafting caliber. So I do think that Daedric princes claiming the artifacts post-Dwemer disappearance is a bit more likely, but hey, we don't know. Now, the Rourken Dwemer, along with all other Dwemer across Tamriel and the Mortal Plane, found their demise in the year 700 of the First Era, when all Dwemer across the Mortal Plane suddenly vanished, likely due to the actions at the Red Mountain. Now, the Rourken Dwemer cities, just like all other Dwemer cities across Tamriel, came to lay dormant. Their coastal cities were eventually raided by pirates, and their inland cities were first scavenged by the Yakudans as they arrived on Tamriel, because the Yakudans never even met the Dwemer, because they came later than the Dwemers disappeared. But eventually many of their cities would just be forever lost to history, as they were eventually swallowed by the deserts of Hammerfell as the sands shift across time. I mean, even Volenfell itself, the ancient capital, was lost to history for a while, with only the shifting of the sand dunes eventually making it accessible again to historians and treasure hunters in the Second and Third Era. That having been said, that's about all I could tell you about the Rourken Dwemer of Hammerfell, and I sincerely hope that you enjoyed this video, and that I managed to teach you something new about the Elder Scrolls lore today. And if I did, why not return for the next Elder Scrolls lore video or subscribe to the channel, would really help me out. That being said, thanks for watching the video, and all that remains for me to be done is to thank my top Patreon supporters, Mr. Bernardo Binda, Gabriel Binda, His Soul, Doji, K-Legend M, King Chris, Volkjor of Argonia, Devin Mattingly, Leo Worley, and Sword of Bushido. These wonderful people, along with all the others on screen, make my videos possible, and for that I'm very grateful. Alright, see you next time.